I always believed betrayal would come in whispers, in half-truths, in mistakes that could be forgiven. I never imagined it would come in the form of my wife, Julia, taking the money we had spent years saving for our son's future, and vanishing into the night with another man. For 18 years, I had poured every spare dollar into that account, watching it grow, knowing one day it would carry our son, Adam, into the life he deserved. And in one act of selfishness, she destroyed it all. It began on a Monday morning. I logged into the bank account, planning to move some funds into a higher-yield savings plan. The balance stopped me cold. 0. At first, I thought it was a glitch. I checked again. Still 0. My heart thudded in my chest as I scanned the transfer history, and there it was. Julia's name. Every last cent, wired out in the middle of the night. Panic turned to dread as I called her. No answer. I texted. Silence. Hours later, I got the message that shattered me. Don't look for me. I deserve to be happy. I'm with Mark now. Tell Adam I'm sorry, but I can't live this lie anymore. Mark. Her so-called colleague, the man who had been at our house for barbecues, who had shaken my hand, who had laughed with Adam about football. That snake. I broke. Rage, grief, humiliation. All of it crashed over me in waves. But the worst part wasn't losing her. It wasn't even the affair. It was the look on Adam's face when I had to tell him the truth. His eyes went glassy, his voice hollow. So Mom just left us? In that moment, something inside me hardened. I couldn't undo Julia's betrayal, but I could make sure she and Mark paid for it. For weeks, I acted broken, silent, like a man too crushed to move on. Julia didn't contact me again, but through mutual friends, I heard bits and pieces. How she and Mark were flaunting their relationship, living in a rented loft downtown, bragging about a fresh start. She thought she was safe. She thought I'd roll over, accept it. What she didn't know was that I still had access to her email, still had old logins stored on our shared computer. And what she really didn't know was that Mark had skeletons of his own. Unpaid debts, shady business deals, things Julia had been too blinded by lust to see. I collected everything. Screenshots, documents, receipts. I dug into Mark's background like a man possessed. Within a month, I had enough to expose them both. The opportunity came faster than I expected. Julia had organized a work dinner, one she insisted on hosting with Mark as her partner. Through one of her colleagues who still pitied me, I got an invitation. She didn't expect me to show, but I did. When I walked into that restaurant, Julia froze. Mark smirked, his arms slung casually around her shoulders as if to say, she's mine now. I didn't shout. I didn't make a scene. Instead, when the room grew quiet, I stood at the head of the table and spoke. Ladies and gentlemen, I won't stay long. I just wanted to congratulate Julia and Mark on their new life together. But since honesty seems important tonight, I thought you should all know the truth. I pulled a folder from my jacket and laid it on the table. Inside were copies of the bank transfer Julia had made, draining her own son's college fund. Alongside it were documents proving Mark's fraudulent activities, his mounting debts, his history of conning partners. Gasps echoed through the room. Julia's face went pale. Mark tried to snatch the folder, but it was too late. Half the table had already seen. This, I said coldly, is what my wife left me for. She didn't just betray me. She betrayed her own son. And she tied her future to a man who was already drowning. The silence that followed was deafening. Julia stammered, her eyes brimming with tears. Ethan, please, not here. But her begging only made it worse. The colleagues she had tried to impress turned their eyes away, their admiration replaced with disgust. Mark exploded, storming out, cursing under his breath. Julia chased after him, but the damage was done. By the end of the week, Mark's reputation was ruined. Investigations into his dealings began, his partners pulled out, and Julia's job quietly let her go to avoid scandal. She tried to come back, tried to apologize, tried to convince Adam and me that she had made a mistake. But when she stood on our porch, sobbing, I didn't open the door. Adam was behind me, his face cold, his voice steady. We don't need you anymore, Mom. And just like that, she was gone again. This time not by her choice but by ours. I rebuilt slowly. It wasn't easy, but Adam and I leaned on each other, stronger without the weight of her betrayal. She had taken his college fund, yes, but I found another way, working overtime, saving again, determined to give him the future she tried to steal. Julia thought she broke me when she stole everything and ran off with her lover. But in the end, it was her life that crumbled. My revenge wasn't anger, or violence, or even shouting. My revenge was simple. I exposed her truth, I cut her out, and I thrived without her. And now, whenever I see her face in town, drawn, tired, empty, I remember the night she mocked my love and destroyed our trust. And I remember my son's words, stronger than any revenge I could imagine. We don't need you anymore.